Discipline always feels like punishment until it sets you free. Naturally, discipline feels like punishment. It's waking up when your body begs for 5 more minutes. It's choosing the gym when your mind whispers, "You've done enough." It's doing the same small things over and over, without applause, without reward, without proof. And yet, somewhere deep down, you know it's the only path that leads to peace. Because while comfort seduces you with instant pleasure, discipline quietly builds the life you dream of. This isn't about perfection. It's about becoming the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves. So today, let's talk about why discipline hurts first, but heals later, and why pain might just be the price of peace. When James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, began writing, he wasn't a best-selling author. He was just a guy posting free articles online, twice a week. For years, almost nobody read them. He said it felt like shouting into the void, no validation, no recognition, just silence. But he kept writing, and after hundreds of invisible posts, his work exploded, because the habits had quietly compounded. James once said, "Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement, and compound interest doesn't look impressive at first, until it suddenly changes everything." That's the story of discipline. It's boring, thankless, invisible, until one day it's the reason you stand where others quit. Most people think discipline is suffering, but what if it's actually freedom in disguise? Psychologists call it delayed gratification bias. Our brains are wired for short-term rewards. That's why scrolling feels better than studying. Sleeping in feels better than showing up. Complaining feels better than changing. But here's what neuroscience teaches us. The human brain is plastic. It can literally rewire itself through repetition, a concept called neuroplasticity. Each time you resist the urge to procrastinate and instead act toward your goal, your brain strengthens that neural pathway. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. As neuroscientist Andrew Huberman puts it, you can train your mind to find dopamine not in the reward, but in the effort itself. That's the switch successful people make. They stop chasing the finish line and start falling in love with the process. This is why discipline transforms people. Because every small act of self-control is not punishment, it's programming. You're rewriting your brain's code to support your future self. If you've ever read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, you've met someone who turned pain into a superpower. Goggins describes discipline as the strongest form of self-respect. When he ran 100 miles in one race, bleeding, dehydrated, in agony, he said it wasn't about physical toughness. It was about proving that his mind was stronger than his excuses. He wasn't punishing himself. He was freeing himself from weakness, from laziness, from self-pity. In The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield gives this force a name: resistance. It's that invisible wall between you and your potential. The fear, distraction, and procrastination that show up the moment you try to grow. Pressfield says amateurs wait for inspiration, but professionals show up anyway. That's discipline. Not glamorous, not Instagram-worthy, just showing up. And then there's The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. He explains that habits form through a loop. Cue, routine, reward. The key to discipline isn't removing temptation, it's rewiring your reward. If you reward your brain for showing up, even with something as simple as acknowledging "I did it," you strengthen that loop. Slowly, the behavior that once felt like a burden starts to feel like identity. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be disciplined," and start saying, "I am disciplined." That's when everything changes. Discipline feels like punishment only to the version of you that loves comfort, because discipline exposes every weak spot, your excuses, your patterns, your avoidance. But when you push through that resistance, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. Trust is built through consistency. Every time you keep a small promise, wake up when you said you would, read when you said you would, work when no one's watching, you send a signal to your subconscious. I can depend on me. And that's when peace arrives. Because true freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's having control over what you choose. You're no longer driven by impulse, you're driven by intention. If discipline feels heavy right now, remember, it's supposed to. Growth never comes gift-wrapped in comfort. Discipline is pruning. It cuts off the parts of you that can't go where you're going. It demands effort now, but gives you peace later. Comfort asks for peace now, and makes you pay later. So the real question is not whether discipline is hard, it's whether staying the same is harder. If this message found you today, maybe it's time to stop waiting for motivation and start respecting yourself enough to act. Share this with someone who's tired of quitting. Because the punishment is temporary, but the freedom that lasts forever. This is the psychology of us, where we uncover the truth about life, habits, and the human mind.